Photoshop Senior Edition, folks. We're going to take this image, Mike Schmidt's image of this wonderful mountain landscape photo, and we're going to put these clouds into the image. And I'm going to turn the settings off on this. And let's just go ahead and open this. I want to do some settings changes inside of Camera Raw first. So I'm going to warm it up just a little bit. Let's go into HSL, set this on luminance, and let's just go through a few of these things and see what we can get. Let's take the blue down a little, and we'll just see what all we can do here. And let's go over to saturation. Don't think we really have anything in the reds to worry about. Let's see what we got here. Yellows, the greens, and see if we can't bump the blues just a little bit. And the hues, yeah, warm that. Gotta be careful, we don't really want to take that into the purples. Alright, let's go back over to the general settings again. Let's see if bring that up a little bit here, and let's go on down to clarity and bump the vibrance a little. And let's go ahead and move the exposure up a little. Contrast. I'm going to go back to HSL again. Check the blues. Let's go back to luminance. And look at saturation again. I don't want these to be going the wrong direction. Okay, that looks good to me. And that turned right around and opened it up again. Alright, so now I'm going to go back into Bridge and open up the sky. And just have it ready. So I'm going to bump the contrast. Let's go into HSL. Going to go to luminance, take the blues to the left, go to saturation, take them to the right. Let's go back over here. Let's go to clarity and vibrance. Don't want to go too crazy with that. And let's just open that image up. Okay. Now let's go in and work on this one, and we want to select, let's just make this a little bit bigger, Control 0. We want to knock out this background, so I'm going to go ahead and do a Control J, and while I'm here I'm going to go ahead and rename this, do a file save as, and let's just, I'm going to put this on the desktop, and the Tetons here, let's just put Mike S, and we don't need all of that information on the end of it, and save. Don't show again. So now if I make any changes, I can just do a Control S and it will automatically save to this file, and I won't be writing over the file that was just there. That's, you know, back over here in Bridge. It won't write over the top of that one because it has a new name. Okay, so let's go back into Photoshop and let's work on getting rid of this background. So right now we have layer 1 and we have the original background. So I'm going to go ahead and just make a new layer, just clicking on the new layer icon. And when you're clicked on this layer and you click on the new layer icon, it pops the new layer in on just above that layer. So that's perfect. I'm going to go ahead and just fill that. Actually, I'm just going to leave it alone. Okay, so here we go up on layer 1, and I'm going to go to the actually I'm going to go to the background or the magic eraser tool, and that will let us get rid of all of this background. Or we could make a selection out of the background. So if we do it this way, the magic eraser tool, we can I would change it from contiguous, and we want to have it on layer 1. We don't want sample all layers on. And let's get down into the area that we want to select. We want to be able to click close to the trees, but we don't want to click on any of the green itself. So it's important to get as much area as we can to get a nice clean selection. You see we've got a real nice job going on, and that did a good job all the way across. Now the only problem is if you look down in the reflection, it saw the same green blue down here, and it also erased it. So not so good. So let's do a Control Alt Z and a few times and get it back to where it was originally. Let's do a Control 0 so we can see the whole image, and we've got everything restored. So what we need to do, so we only select the sky up here and not the reflection of the sky, is just to make a selection around the sky, and that way the only thing we can work on is what's selected. So if we now hit the background or the magic eraser tool, the only possible thing that can be erased is what's within the selected area. Nothing down here can be affected. So if I click down here even, and I did, and here and here and here, nothing can happen. Even though if we turn on the history, you'll see that I just did these things, and I'll do it again. See, nothing's happening because we're not inside the selected area. So now if I go down here and click, you got to be on the right layer. Let me show it again. Down here, click, and it still can only select up here. So let me undo that because it's a terrible selection. So we want to click right in here. Okay, and then we come up here, select this stuff, and we use the, let me get this out of the way, put it right down here, and I'm going to get paths out of the way. So if we look in here, if we look in here around the trees, it really did do a magnificent job of knocking that background out. So let's do a Control D to turn the marching ants off. Go down here and you can see our water looks just fine. It didn't knock any of that out at all. Now some might prefer to use the selection tool and knock it out with the quick selection tool and refine edge. To me, that's going to entail a lot more fine tuning than that, and I think you saw that was pretty easy method to select it all the way around the trees. About 4 clicks and we got rid of the entire sky. So I don't think that's too bad. So now we need to bring in the new sky to put in there. So let's go over here, and here is the new sky. So we don't need the mountains. We've already got all the mountains we need. So let's do a lasso of everything that is sky. We don't need it all, but why not have it all? I'm going to do a Alt key down and deselect a little that I got carried away with. That would be Option on a Mac. And I'm going to do a Control C to copy that to the virtual clipboard. Go back over here to our image. Now the other image is going to be smaller as I bring it in, so I'll have to do a little transform. I'm going to do a Control minus to make this a little bit smaller. And now I'm going to click on this layer because I want the sky. Well, actually, let's click on here. I'm going to do a Control V as in victory. Like I said, this is a bit smaller, so now I'm going to do a Control T. T as in transform. And I'm just going to hold down the Shift key, drag that out a bit, and we can put that up there however we want, and then double click it, and then we can click and drag that just below layer 1. So now we have those clouds in there, and if we turn on the move tool or press the letter V, we can move the clouds however we want those. Okay? But obviously that doesn't give us clouds down here. So to make it realistic, we need to also put these nice blue clouds into the lake water. So to do that, we need to make a copy. Let's put these, double click right on that where it says layers 3 and say clouds upper, and we'll make an exact copy of this. Control J, and clouds reflection. Okay, so now obviously we want to have the clouds reflection has to be on top, right? Because it's actually going to be down here at the bottom, and we need to, you know, align everything so it looks like it's going to be an opposite reflection, so to speak. So let's change the opacity of that so you can see kind of, you know, the way this is going to look. I'm going to go ahead and put a mask on this, a layer mask. So I'm going to click on what I call the square donut. So we have this mask here. So now what I'm going to do is do a Control T. Has to be on, don't put it on the mask. Got to click on this side, Control T, and I'm going to right click and go down and flip horizontal, and then I'm going to right click again and then go rotate 180. Now you see that the clouds are lined up the way they look at the top, they look at the bottom, right? So let's go ahead and just click on the transform, and let's go ahead and change the opacity to 100%. So now they are reflecting, and we could drag it up, you know, transform on up further, double click it. Now here's the trick. We need to go down here. Actually, we need to go up here and just double click on the right side of this layer. You can't click on the text or it's going to want you to edit the text. So you just go out here where it's blank on this layer and double click a couple of times to bring up the layer styles. And the magic happens right here. Underline layer. And that's what we're dealing with right here. We want to drop out the part of the sky. So here's what we do. With this slider right here, we move this to the right, and you see it starts dropping out the areas where the dark things are. So if I cancel this real quick and turn this off, you see that the lighter part stays in longer. This dark part starts dropping out as we drag that slider. So, whoops, got to have that turned on. Bring that back in. Okay, now we drag this slider over, and it's kind of harsh right now. See, the edges are kind of harsh and jagged and everything. Well, the softness comes when we take and we hold down the Alt key on a PC and the Option key on a Mac, and this will actually split apart, and then it goes soft here in the edges. So we can still bring this down further if we need to, and we can, you know, just soften that all out. So you can click OK. We can still, like I say, we can drag that wherever we need to, but that's how you get the reflection in the water. So what I'm going to do is double click on that again. You notice the little double squares here. If I double click on that, it takes us right back in. It's totally editable. So I'm going to drag this little character back out so we can see more of the clouds. And then I'm going to drag this slider down so we have a smoother transition going across the water. Nice and, you know, making that transition smoother across. And you can, you know, determine how much of that you're going to keep and how much of that transition is going to move across. You click OK when you're satisfied. Now this is where the mask comes into play. We don't need this stuff where the water and the sky are overlapping up here. So we paint with black. We turn on a paintbrush. We have black down here by default. If white happens to be up, just click the little double arrows. Get a nice soft brush up here of some kind. We want the hardness all the way off, and we want the paint to be, the opacity to be around 30%, and we just paint that a little bit here and there till we make that go away. We don't want any signs of that blue up there. We want to see the trees reflecting perfectly and none of that sky showing in the trees. That, and just keep painting till you get that back to a natural color. Let's get the brush a little bit bigger. Right bracket key to make that happen. Right back through here, warm that back up where it's trying to keep that blue in there. We don't want the blue right there. And see, the clouds aren't looking bad at all. Now if we wanted to, we could clean this water up. Things down here, that's just a little stuff growing in the water, a little debris, and all of that stuff could be taken out. You notice we got a little artifact going on in there. So if we double click this again, we can kind of clip that stuff out. So you have control over all of that. Determine how much of that you're going to allow in, how much you're going to take out, and so forth. So hopefully this showed you how to take that reflection from the sky, put it into the water as well, and not interfere with the reflections that are already existing. You wouldn't want to lay the clouds down over the top of these beautiful trees reflecting in the water. Then it's going to look absolutely terrible. Another thing that's going on right now that you don't want to happen, the mountains that are back here are not reflecting right in the image. So we got to click back on this mask over here in the layers palette and bring these mountains back out. So that's the other benefit of the layer mask. You got to make sure that the reflection is proper. Now if you think that's going too far, that the reflection is too strong, you simply switch back to white and maybe bring that back slowly. You can paint that back down a little bitty bit, so you can kind of undo that a little bit, because you're not erasing anything, you're only masking it with that layer mask. So let's make that a little bit smaller so you can see the whole image. I think you can get the idea here that you can lay clouds in and get that reflection going without interfering with other things. The use of the mask and the use of using the layer style, and then blending if. This blend if is very important to make things like this happen. Alright, that's it for this video. Hope you got something out of it that's positive. Talk to you all later. Bye-bye.